I mentioned that the emperor was buried in a tomb which is meant to represent heaven and earth, be sort of a microcosm of the universe as he thought of it. In fact, the emperor had no plans to die originally. He had sent expeditions to find the lands of the immortals, to bring back the elixir of immortality. He failed, apparently. He died. His tomb has still not been opened. But a number of years ago, what was discovered was a set of warriors made out of terracotta. Armies arranged around his tomb. And his tomb is a tumulus, a man-made mountain arising out of a flat plain. These warriors give us something to think about. And the fact that there were so many of them, if I look at my slides here and look through these slides as you're looking through now of these pits where the warriors were found, arranged in great rows. Actually, there's one of the most interesting was a replica built in Katy, Texas, outside of Houston, right? And well, you can see it for yourself, but you can see the enormous size of these pits. Right? It was really quite something. And we know pretty much they haven't all been dug up. They were after the Qin fell, there was an attempt to destroy them. But it gets us to think about a couple things that I think are important to think about in terms of the creation of empire in China. Very often in the West, we talk about technological innovations as the basis for bringing about historical change. And it's true that Qin had the advantage, but so did the other states, of the development of the crossbow. And crossbow means that you can take these iron bolts, which are easy to produce, and keep shooting them, longer distance, reasonable accuracy, but it's the sort of thing that you can do with a mass army. If we think about these massed soldiers, infantry, cavalry, generals, common soldiers, created and placed around the manufactured in workshops and buried around the first emperor's tomb. What I think we see really is a sign of something else, which the Qin did more effectively, and that was social mobilization. It wasn't Qin's technology that won the day. It was the effectiveness and thoroughness of its mobilization of the population, and the fact that it could say to its soldiers there was only one way up, and that was to fight well and gain merit, and that anyone who wanted to have power and status in the state could only get it through merit on behalf of the state. So that is one of the great lessons of Qin, that mobilization sometimes can be more important than technology and technological innovation. I think very often in the West, we've looked at China and we've tended to see masses. China is a very densely populated country, and it has been for much of its history. So we tend at the same time in the West, I think, to look at China as somewhat uniform and to see this mass production of soldiers in the Qin and Qin mobilization and Qin standardization as really saying that everybody must conform, everybody must be alike. And I actually think that that is a profound mistake on our part in looking at China. I was once told that by a Chinese friend that what he admired most about America was that we had no individuality, and Chinese were too individualistic. The very opposite, I think, of what Americans assume. But I'll save that story till later. Let's look at the evidence from Qin. Let's look at the evidence from these soldiers. And one of the things I'd call your attention to here is, yes, when we look at the long lines of soldiers, they seem to be all the same. But now look at the hairdos that we find, and the nature of the mustaches and the beards. Everyone is individualized. The production of these terracotta warriors was done in workshops. And as far as we can tell, sort of the arms and the legs and the torso were consistent across everybody. But then they took the next step. They gave them individual faces, different beards, different mustaches. They gave them different hairstyles. There's tremendous individuality. No, there's enormous variation. And somehow, one of the things that Qin established was how to mass produce, how to create modules that could be used effectively, and at the same time maintain a level of individuality. And as we think about Chinese history, we might want to keep in mind that that is a unique unique accomplishment. Now, Qin didn't last. Somehow, Qin was able to have a high degree of uniformity and maintain a sense of individuality. And we see that in the terracotta warriors